Hey y'all, this is my summary video for Module 4 Social Studies for Perspectives of Social Studies Instruction. Okay, first I want to define social studies from the module. Social studies is defined as information and investigation from the social sciences that relate directly to an understanding of individuals, groups, and societies. Social studies also includes information to citizenship education. And this is very important. The culturally responsive education, or CRE. Culturally responsive education promotes the ability to learn from and relate respectively with people of your own culture as well as those from other cultures. And that is from the module. And culturally responsive teachers should be conscious of other cultures, be affirming towards students from culturally diverse backgrounds. We must be agents of change. We must promote critical thinking, problem solving, and collaboration. And we must have the ability and commitment to learn about students. We need to learn about them, their family, um, their culture. Just, we should not assume anything. We should take the time to really understand and learn our students. And I love this from the Cedar Center Culturally Responsive Teaching. While implementing these practices, teachers must consciously make connections to students' cultures, languages, and everyday experiences in order for students to experience academic achievement while preserving their cultural and linguistic identities because they matter. And we can't have this, oh, I don't see color attitude. Um, and for a long time, I didn't realize that that perspective was necessarily incorrect. Um, but as I studied cultural differences early on in college, um, I was just really surprised by my own biases, and I had to get those in check because I really considered myself an all-inclusive people person, but I learned a lot about myself and I made adjustments, and that is very, very important um, because we don't want a single student feeling like they don't matter or that their culture is weird. We don't want any student feeling weird about themselves for any reason. And that's just my opinion. So we should be inclusive of everyone and celebrate difference. And I really like the IRIS module. I think I'd actually had that module before for another diversity type course. But this is some of my favorite stuff from that module. Um, Include content about the histories, contributions, experiences, points of view, and concerns relevant to students with diverse backgrounds. We must include content that is validating and meaningful. We must make connections between background knowledge and content standards, and we should be doing that anyway. um, that's just good teaching, as another great quote from this module. We must teach students to respect their own and others' cultural identities and differences. So everyone has a culture, whether they realize it or not. So it's part of our job to teach students to respect that about themselves and others. We must promote multicultural education during instruction and activities. We must use multicultural literature, which will be really fun, to teach reading and writing, and to illustrate the social or cultural contributions made by various groups of people. I mean, I get excited just reading that because that is something that's going to be a lot of fun in the classroom. Um, and we must also be mindful of content in textbooks and understand when it will be necessary to supplement content when needed. And this is about those unnecessary stereotypes that are in textbooks. I think it's a lot better than it used to be when I was a young kid in school, but we still have to be aware of that and make those adjustments when needed. And of course, create a classroom environment that is accepting of all students and respects diversity of all kinds. And this is from the National Council on Social Studies. And the National Council on Social Studies, or NCSS, has outlined 10 themes to promote civic competence that includes, and this is from our module as well, knowledge, intellectual processes, and democratic dispositions required of students to be active and engaged participants in public life. And this is so very important, especially now. I mean, I'm just going to be really honest with everything we see on the news. We need a whole lot of this right now. So here are the 10 themes. There are culture, time, continuity, and change. We must learn from our history. And people, places, and environments, individual development and identity, individuals, groups, and institutions, power, authority, and governance, production, distribution, and consumption, science, technology, and society, global connections, civics, ideals, and practices. And here are the implications that I got out of the module. From the IRIS module, I'm just going to quote this. Teachers better understand and affirm students when they do not adopt a culture-blind attitude, one that ignores differences. We must celebrate difference. And I've got an idea that I remembered from a different class, but I'm going to include it after the next point. We must promote family involvement, include families in the classroom, and build trust. And one great way to do this would probably be to just invite families to the classroom and have them bring a food or a snack or something that is a family favorite of theirs to share with the classroom and other families. Now, I know we have to be careful and, of food allergies and things like that, but I'm sure this is something that we can do. And it would just really set up an environment where everyone feels welcome. And again, assess your own beliefs and adjust. There were some questions as part of an activity for the IRIS module. It says, do I think that I know and understand a student's abilities and level of development better than his or her parents or guardians? That's something we should ask ourselves. How accurate do I believe a parent's report and suggestions to be? Do I believe that parents of my students can teach their children as well as I can? How much effort do I make to learn from the parents of my students about their unique backgrounds? Do I visit the homes or communities of my students? Do I respect and put into action the views and ideas of my culturally and linguistically diverse families? And then, do I utilize interpreters when in conference with students' families who are not fluent in English? And that all of this is so important to remember for our students who don't have English as a first language. And we can incorporate that in the lessons that we have, and we could even include lessons or content in their home language. Anything we can do to promote you know inclusiveness. So yeah, that's what I have for you. Sorry I went off on a bit of a tangent, it seemed, at the end. But it's just so important that we are accepting of all cultures and difference. Thank you.